Roll call.
Ms. Atkins?
Here.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Here.
Mrs. Peterson? Mrs. Shuffle?
Here.
Mr. Sorensen?
Here.
Mr. Sturm?
Here.
Mr. Wright?
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the January 13, 2025 agenda?
So moved. Second?
Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. Commendations, good news.
So actually, we invited Dr. Hartman over there. I don't know if you guys know her, but she's going to do. She's also our teammates coordinator. So she's done a ton of work this year with our teammates mentoring program. And Josh Allen was the teammates mentor coordinator before. Did a great job. Kind of started the program. Lisa's taken it and run off with it, and with the goal of getting more matches. Basically making more awareness about it, just letting people understand, like, what is teammates, what is the purpose. Are you still not able to get in?
I cannot. It says unable to connect to ERC board.
Weird. Do you need to re-download the thing?
Well, and I'm trying to connect to it also. You can go to the website and use it. I'm trying to do that too, and it's not.
Sorry, people. Technical difficulties. For whatever reason, these things like to pop up right when we're doing a meeting. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I'm connected. Must be your,
You can do it?
yeah.
Okay, I'm restarting my computer.
I was gonna say, do you have a,
I sent you the teammates presentation the other day.
let me see if I can do that while you restart your computer.
Okay. This is on, well, I guess it was better, so not people.
You can turn your mic on and you'll be on camera, but until you share with Google.
The Google Meet?
Show.
Okay. Okay. So Teammates Mentoring, for those of you who are new to Teammates, it was actually started by Tom and Nancy Osborne. Tom was a Nebraska football coach. And so there's a video I was going to show you, but he talks about how back when he had the team, he reached out to the football team and was like, hey, is there anybody that wants to mentor? They were going into Lincoln Public Schools and mentoring 7th and 8th grade kids. And he had like 22 kids or 22 football players that wanted to mentor. And so it's just taken off from there. I think now there's like 45,000 kids that they mentor throughout their program. So it's spread obviously to Iowa, Wyoming, South Dakota. So teammates.org, if you're interested, it's got a little bit more information on the Teammates program, but their mission is to inspire students to reach their full potential, which is a really exciting mission statement and really aligns with what we're doing here at Lewis Central. Brett and I both had experiences in other districts with Teammates, so it's been really exciting to jump in here at Lewis Central and build Teammates. So if you go to the next slide, we started the year with 29 matches, and we currently have 45 matches going. So here's what the team looks like. So myself and Jim Pettit this year have jumped in and are coordinating all of the efforts with Teammates. At each of the buildings, there's a building coordinator, which is huge because they are a huge help in when mentors need to switch days or if we are coordinating some different activities, that they're a big help in supporting us with that. So that's who at each of our buildings is working with us. And then we have a board, and our board is Matt Warren, who works at TS Bank, and then Gabe Wagner works here, Kelly Boyle is here, and Patrick Neppel is also here at Lewis Central. So this is what our vision is for Lewis Central, but we want a culture of mentoring in our community. So when we think about that, we think about like, we don't want this to just be for at-risk kids. We want this to be for all kids. We want there to be a culture that mentoring is a good thing and all kids can benefit from mentoring. So then here's our goals. Our goals are to expand our board. We had 2 board members who had been on for 6 years and then their terms were up. So we have replaced those 2 board members. We are still looking for 2 additional board members. So if you guys know of anybody who might be a good fit, I would love to get some more people who are not Lewis Central employees, just because we have a lot of Lewis Central employees. It'd be nice to get some different perspective on the board. One of our other goals is to recognize and reward those mentors who meet at least 24 times a year. In the research that Teammates has done, the matches that meet 24 times in a year have the best results when it comes to academic improvements and attendance improvements. So we want to make sure our mentors are recognized that meet that many times. And then our other goal is to increase our matches by 50% for this school year and then 25% in subsequent years. We thought 50% might be a little hard to do every single year. So we've been out in the community quite a bit doing some different marketing thing. If you've been to any of the musicals or the high school musical, or high school play, high school holiday music concert, we've had promotional items out. We've sponsored some desserts for those programs. We've got a bunch of yard signs. I've kind of paused on that because it's gotten cold, but when it gets nice out, we'll go back out to businesses and put more yard signs. So just trying to get our name out there. Here's some of the different things. We just did the Harlan basketball game, which was a lot of fun to be present at that. Tomorrow, I'll have a spot on Bluffs Country Radio to talk about Teammates. That's thanks to Emma for making that contact for me. So that's just a few of the ways we're getting the word out locally about Teammates. So what's next? We currently have 15 kids on the waiting list. Tom Osborne even speaks to this a little bit in his intro video, but he talks about how there's usually like a third more kids than there are mentors. So there's always kind of a waiting list of more kids that are looking. So most of those are boys. They range from second grade all the way through high school. So if you know anybody or know any organizations or groups to go speak to or contact, I'd be happy to take those. Some upcoming things, Jim and I will both be working with, there's 2 different Rotaries, and we're going to go work with them. Bluffs Country. Impact CB is kind of like the young professionals group, and they have opportunities where you can like host a networking event. So we're going to host one of those. More yard signs in the spring. Here soon, those mentors who have met for 10 times so far this year, Dr. Hazing is one of them, will get a little recognition for their efforts so far this year. And I picked this month to present to the board because this is actually National Mentoring Month. And so all of our mentors are going to receive a thank you card and a thank you gift for mentoring with Lewis Central. And here's a few more things. Let's see, is that the next slide? Yeah, here.
I think that's it.
Go to the next one. Okay, was that the last one?
I think it's the last one.
Okay. And then the only other thing is just continuing to do some of the musicals and some of the in-house things where we've got a lot of parents and a lot of people coming to those events just to continue to spread the word about Teammates. So that's Teammates so far this year in a nutshell. Any questions about Teammates?
What cool stories have you heard from like students about the Teammates mentoring?
Yeah, well, so a couple things. Actually, tomorrow, Brent and one of his mentees are actually being filmed by the Teammates organization for a little promotional thing. I'll share my mentee. It's kind of cool. I started working with her in 7th grade, and I think that's a hard age to jump in because you're just like not sure, and you're not sure what kind of things to do. And so one of the first things we were doing this year, I had desserts out and stuff, and she was part of the concert, and she came up with her friends, and she was like, yeah, she's like, at first I kind of thought this Teammates thing was kind of weird. She's like, but now she's like, I look forward to you coming every week, and like, it's the best part of my week. And like hearing her say that was like, that's what it's all about, is to, hopefully there's something that kid looks forward to. And I think every mentor would say too that like we probably feel like we get more out of it than the kids do. Mm-hmm. Like it is like the best part of my week. And I know Dr. Hazing has 2 kids that he sees, and
Every Monday and every Tuesday.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yep.
it's really cool to see. It's really cool to see staff members get involved and engaged in this too, and be able to like follow kids, because oftentimes we only get kids for like a year, and to be able to stick with a kid and see them progress and mature and grow over time. And I think right now with my mentee, she's a freshman, and we're starting to talk about college, and we're starting to talk about like what she wants to do after school, and like that's kind of an exciting thing too. Like it was cool to play games, but like it's cool to get to this part with them too. And the last time we met, she goes, so when I graduate, does that mean I don't get to see you anymore? And I was like, no, like then we can see each other all the time then, so that was kind of neat to hear. But I'll have to bring to the board every year, the kids and the mentors fill out a survey, and there's some open-ended questions, and they'll share a little bit, and looking back at some of the previous years and some of the things that people have shared, it's pretty cool about how mentoring has impacted both the mentors and the mentees.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll speak to that. So I started mentoring in 2009 when I got to Missouri Valley, because I had a program right away. And so as a teacher, I would go up, start once a week during my lunch break. I would run up there, and we literally, by the time I ran up, we had 25-minute duty free lunch. By the time I got up there, and mentor, it was like 15 minutes of mentoring, and I came back down. And then I had another kid when I was up there one time was like, can you mentor me too? So next thing you know, as a teacher, I'm running up twice a week during my lunch, and just gave up my lunch and just go and mentor. And so I had about 8 mentees in Missouri Valley. I had a bad string there for a little bit, where every time they would give me a kid, they'd end up moving away. So I was like, it was interesting. So I bounced around a little bit. One of my mentors up there, and I know he wouldn't mind, but his name's Jacob, and I had him from 5th grade all the way through 12th grade. And in fact, he graduated from Iowa Western, and then he is now going to Bellevue University, and he's becoming a teacher. And he'll tell you, we meet up probably once every month, once every 2 months still, and we have lunch together and talk about what he's doing. He's getting married here soon, and so it's really cool. Like that relationship, as Dr. Hartman says, it doesn't end. Like if you don't want it to, like it can keep going on, and so super excited for him. But little conversations. The purpose of teammates mentoring is not, we're not trying to like interfere with their life. We're not trying to like,
Fix
I don't need
them.
to fix them, and that's not the point. Sometimes it just needs somebody to talk to. Sometimes it's casual conversation. Like I know when Jacob's very talented in singing and fine arts, and when he went to about maybe halfway through sophomore year of high school, he's like, this isn't very cool. I don't want to do it. Well, all I do is simply encourage him, like, you need to stay out for fine arts. Like, you're really good at it. And family was super supportive, but none of them were really into the fine arts, so it was kind of a hard, do I stay? What do I do? And I just said, man, you got to do it. Like, as you guys know, I like singing. I like doing that kind of stuff. He ended up going to Iowa Western for almost free on music scholarships. So I'm not saying it's because of me, but I don't think if he had people there supporting him and telling him, hey, just encouraging him, like, hey, stay out with it, that he would have necessarily gone for free to Iowa Western. So, and like I said, it's nothing heavy. It's just, you go, like one of my mentees is a high schooler, and we play chess every week. Usually he beats me. Last week I beat him twice, and so I rolled in this week with a pretty hot head, and I caught him. I didn't even know I beat him the first game today, but then he whipped me the second game, so put me back in my place. And then tomorrow I'll meet with my other mentee, who's a 7th grader at the middle school, and we just play a couple different card games and talk about the Huskers and talk about life, hunting, et cetera. So it's very, it's not hard at all. It's just takes a little bit of time. And I know teammates is 1 hour a week. Well, if you don't have an hour, like I meet for a half hour.
Yeah, we say it's like 30
Yeah.
minutes.
It's like 30 minutes. It's whatever
Yeah.
you can give. So
Yeah, and I would just add too, from the parent perspective, so when we were in Nevada, Leighton was in teammates mentoring, and she was fortunate enough to have the principal be her mentor, and that was really cool. And then teammates has now changed. It used to be 3rd grade was the start, but now it's 2nd grade. So I was kind of like, well, I'll bring it up to Luke at some point. He's in 2nd grade. But Luke beat me to it. He was like, when are you going to sign me up for teammates? And I was like, okay. So Luke last week had his first meeting with his mentor, and he was already telling me that he gets to meet with him tomorrow. He was trying to convince his teacher it's every day. So it's really cool. I mean, I don't think as a parent that I have all the answers for my kid, and sometimes it's nice for them to talk to somebody besides mom. So it's cool to be able to see that too, just with your own kids and what they get out of teammates.
yeah.
So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to comments and suggestions.
I have one, if I can,
yep.
before we move on.
Go ahead.
This weekend was Corp and Company's first weekend out competing, and they had a great opener last Monday night. We competed at Sioux Falls Jefferson on Saturday, and Company came in second in their division, and Corporation came in second runner-up in finals on Saturday night.
Nice.
Amongst some extremely stiff competition. So the kids walked out of there, all of them, very excited. And so we head off to Ralston this weekend. Both Corp and Company will compete, and I believe the 7th and 8th graders join us as well on Friday night. So everybody's out this weekend.
That's nice. A little closer.
A little closer,
A little closer.
a little smaller of an auditorium, but a little
What time did you say
closer.
you rolled in on?
Um,
Saturday night / Sunday morning?
Saturday night / we left, my alarm went off at 4 a.m. and I rolled in my driveway at 2:15 Sunday morning
It's a long day.
on folding chairs.
Yeah.
On folding chairs. Yeah. But I'm very grateful for our community and the district for building us a beautiful auditorium because Saturday was in a gymatorium on folding chairs and bleachers. So thank you to Lewis Central for providing that. So. But Marnie did win Best Soloist of the Day. She got a $15,000 scholarship to the University of Sioux Falls. And then this is quite I'm so sorry I forgot this. Addison Bortmus won Best Performer, and she won, this is crazy, $100,000 scholarship, but I don't remember where it was to. I'd have to look. So we had 2 performers that were called out specifically by the judges. And again, the competition this weekend was fierce.
Wow.
So it was an awesome night, awesome day.
That is awesome.
Yes. So congratulations to the directors and those kids, because they have really pulled it together. So
Well,
if you
their
get a
shows-
chance to see them, come see them.
Yeah, we had a basketball game last week, so I rolled in late. I just got to catch Corp last week, but all I know is I woke up the next morning and my daughters already had Gobble Gobble playing on repeat from their show. So it was a good way to wake up. So
Yep. I fall asleep to it most nights, so I get it.
You got it? Okay.
Were there any additional commendations, good news, before we move on?
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to comments and suggestions. This is one of 2 times in our meeting where we open up the floor to general public or those watching online for any thing they want to share with the board. Nobody online? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to consent agenda. Can I get, or do we have an updated consent agenda?
There is updated minutes at your spots, and then the personnel sheet, there are no changes.
All right. Okay. Then can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. Okay, superintendent report.
So I do have, we had a bond planning meeting, project meeting today. I'm going to have Dr. Hartman pull up a document here. Yep. Just got to zoom way in. So I asked Project Advocates to put together for us just kind of a general timeline that I can share with you. Now, this is not official whatsoever, so a couple steps need to take place. Can you go a little further? Go ahead and, there you go, okay. So what you're gonna see is these are based on what we had communicated with the community as far as the projects we were going to do, and putting a timeline to it, kind of an order, what we've discussed with the facility committee. We do have a meeting with the facility committee tomorrow night, so I do want to preface, this hasn't been shared with them yet. We'll share it with them tomorrow night and get their feedback on it. So this is just an FYI. This is, you guys aren't making any decisions or anything like that. Anytime we do a big project, I will have to come before you guys and say, you know, hey, we would like to send this out to bid, and we'd have to have a board hearing here, and then you guys would have to agree to have it be sent out to bid, and that would be it. So kind of February 3rd, the timeline looks like tomorrow night we're going to share it with the facility committee, and then on February 3rd we're going to present to the board kind of a slate of like, these are the actual projects that we're going to be going out to bid very relatively soon, and with the plan of completing this fall. And then we would have you guys go ahead and kind of vote on that slate, and then we can, with estimated costs, we'll still have to bring to you when we actually have round numbers. So according to the state of Iowa, when we go after a bid, that's something that's not already pre-bid out. So there are some things like LED lighting, for instance, if the company works as part of a state consortium, we don't bid that out because it's already been pre-approved by the state. They already have state-approved pricing. Other projects, like when we redo the parking lot, there's no pre-approved concrete bidder out there, so we need to get architectural drawings. I need to bring it to the board as a project. You guys need to vote on whether or not we can send it out to bid. The architectural drawings or engineering drawings have to come with an estimated price tag, and then we'll send it out to bid, and then the companies will, usually it's out there for between 2 and 4 weeks. They bid on it, we get them back, we open it, and then you guys have to approve the actual bidder after that. So it's a little bit of a process. So what we have here is there's some different things. You'll see the high school parking lot, exit lane, tennis courts. That's something that for sure, jumped off again. For sure the parking lots and, now I gotta pull it up since it's gone. Hold on one second so I can read that. Sorry, technical difficulties. Are you able to hop back on or not, Dr. Hartman?
Unable to connect the ERC.
Okay,
Oh, now it's connecting.
we'll see. As part of the bond, we'll get a new Vivi system here, so we can not have to worry about not able to connect. Okay. So as long as your screen share is still working, I'll just go ahead and share up there, and then you can share the screen share. I want to share. One second here. Sorry about that out there. Just hold on 1 second. Okay, here we go. Let me zoom in. Okay. So essentially it looks like this. High school parking lot, access tennis court, exit lane tennis court. One of the things we're gonna have to hold off on, and you'll see tonight when you guys approve the design fees, or when you guys consider the design fees for approval, you won't see the high school exit lanes on there because we haven't confirmed with the city where they want that yet. So we do know that we still have to get onto the design for that. Middle school parking lot, Titan Hill parking lot, queuing lane, high school fire alarm, high school roofing, high school mechanical, LED lighting, high school renovations. So that's just general renovations. That's actually let's see here. I think something's, hold on 1 second. They sent me a new file. That's the old file. Must not have sent me a new file. So we talked about it today. Like, for instance, some of the things we know have changed, and this is just a working file. Some things we know have changed are, what's going on here? There we go. Like, for instance, the high school renovation is now called high school safety vestibule, because there's not a lot of renovations other than the safety addition, the safety vestibule that we're putting on there. And I'll show you a little bit kind of what we've gotten down to. This number, and these numbers are going to be fluid, because back when we were putting in estimates, now that we're getting architects involved and everything else, you know, we know some are going to raise and some are going to lower. So for instance, the high school renovation, this number is going to go up because the vestibule is more of an office, or like an entry expansion, so it becomes more costly. Versus the middle school roofs, we found out were, you know, we don't have to do as many middle school roofs, so we're able to back off that a little bit. Playgrounds, again, you know, here we had between Craft renovation, and that actually is the safety vestibule again. It's not a big renovation, it's just safety vestibule. We can actually do something internal in Craft, and so it's going to cost a fraction of what we had budgeted for that. And so we're gonna be able to, eliminate the majority of this, and we think we can get all of our playgrounds done for $1 million versus $1 million plus was what we were kind of budgeting before, so. So when we go through here, then there's soft costs, you'll see kind of the timeline here. You'll see us starting fourth quarter of '24, which would be like summertime of '24. Remember, our quarters run July 1st through June 30th, so when we talk quarters, so this would be quarter four, so this would be spring, early summer, this is later summer, this is kind of into the fall, and then we have a winter, kind of not much we can do during the winter here, and then we'll look into this. The reason you see, this is the middle school renovation, you see that kind of going throughout the whole thing is because we'll have to get started on design work this spring, but because of the complexities of renovating a space like that, it takes a long time for design. So, and then, let's see here. So you'll just see there's just some generic drawings and stuff here, kind of what the high school parking lot, this is kind of the proposed, what we've shared with the city as far as what we're looking to for a vestibule or a entry exit lane. You'll see kind of a renovation, a little bit of the sidewalks around the high school. The front entry, this will change because you'll see that the front entry goes out further. Here's the moving the tennis courts from where they are now, which they have to be replaced anyway. They're terrible. Like this spring is going to be rough because there's huge cracks, and we're going to try to do the best we can to fill them in, but next year should be night and day difference. It just didn't make any sense to me to put a bunch of money into a tennis courts that have to be moved anyway. So, so that's just what that looks like. If I go to the next one. Here's kind of the roofs right now. We did some of this area before. This is the high school. This was inevitably going to be done anyway, probably in 2026. We got to finish the high school roofs, but because there's not as many middle school roofs, and I'll show you that in a second, that we have to do. We're able to move that money and say, well, let's kind of knock out the high school roofs tonight. Plus, these are accessed on the back side of the high school, so we don't necessarily, it's not going to interfere with any of the parking lot work or anything that we're going to do there. Here is what when people ask kind of what are you looking at as far as an office vestibule, a couple different things. One, there's not nearly enough room here. Originally, we thought we could just kind of knock through a door and kind of go through here. This is very narrow. It actually runs about right here. And so there's not enough room to be able to shuttle any amount of kids through like that where it is now if we just punch a hole, which means we have to go back into the principal's office and expand this area so people can actually come in through the vestibule area or come into a waiting area. And so we said, okay, if we're going to do that, then we got to put some sort of little vestibule on here. And we got to move the principal's office, and then we looked at potentially doing like an interior thing where essentially we walled this off and then took over this area, the commons. But essentially what that does is render this hallway completely useless. So kids can't flow in a circle around that hallway. So there was some major vetting that was done here. Essentially what my guidance to them, this is the guidance that I kind of heard the whole time, is do it once, do it right. You know, and it wasn't far off. We had been budgeting about, you saw earlier, about $800,000 for this project. It's going to be a little bit more, but we're able to take some money off of the roof savings and some of the other areas and be able to finish this. This would essentially be, right now this is just a conceptual drawing, but people after the original rush, all kids, all adults, everybody would enter and exit through the office here. So no longer will kids during the school day be able to enter and exit through here. Once these are shut down, they're shut down. And they'll actually be keyed with some sort of alarm so that way if anybody leaves without badging out, the alarm will go off and it'll notify us. So, so everybody will enter in through here. We'll be checked in here. The new safety system that we purchased has a visitor management system where people will actually give us their ID, we'll run a quick check, and then we'll hand it back to you. The whole process, It's pretty common in school now, only takes about maybe 2 or 3 minutes. We print a visitor badge, we give it to you, and you're good to go. On the same side, kids will be able to log in. When they come in, they will have a badge of their own, or they can type in a code, and they will actually scan them in. It'll record their attendance to the minute. Like, they'll be able to badge in and badge out, and it'll go right through Power School and everything. So no more will kids be like, no, I was in school, I was there. Be like, oh, that was weird, because you're not badged in, you're not badged out. So so we'll know everybody that comes through here. We actually wanted to move our safety officer. So Dean right now resides clear back here. That's not, he has no visible access to the front. If anything happens, he can come through the office. It's not a big deal. But we said if we're going to put this up here, we would really love a potential SRO in the future, or at least Dean, who's our head of security right now, to be up here so he can see visibly the parking lot, the entries, and anybody that's entering the building. And then you'll see we moved both associate principals from back here, which gave us 2 more conference rooms up here, the principal here, and then the AD here. So so everybody's going to be kind of at that central office in the front, so they'll be the first line, they'll be the first line when anybody enters the building. And then it'll essentially keep our school the same function that it is now. The reason I showed that is because then when you go up here, this pavement in front of the high school needs to be addressed anyway. It's up here, it needs to be addressed. It's got all sorts of raises, it's just not great pavement. So we're probably gonna knock out this little garden here and kind of try to steer people towards that front entrance, if we can. So, again, just kind of it'll change the concept a little bit. It'll change the front of the building look just a little bit, but the other options were to just have this little wing here. We would have probably lost an office, which I don't know where we would put the principal then, or take over this whole commons area, which by the time it was done was essentially the same cost. So, so that's kind of the 2 things. And they'll have a design fee. This is just conceptual. They're going to have a design fee to us for your February 3rd meeting, and then you'll be able to have kind of more feedback and input on this. Parking lot repairs. Here's just some generic mapping for parking lot repairs, renovation. Here's the new lane at Titan Hill. Craft Primary School. There's kind of 2 options that we kind of landed at. One option is to simply, this is our typical vestibule right here. It's a 2-door, this is ours right now. It's a 2-door vestibule, and we have a window right here. So option 1 is to almost mimic what Titan Hill has. Titan Hill is those front doors right there. You enter in, and then they have a glass wall right here. And so it's just simply putting in another bank of doors right at the end here, right by the hallway. So everybody that enters in will have to go to the office first and then be buzzed into the rest of the building, either through here or through here. Option B would be to go through and take out that window that's here, put a door in instead, so everybody that comes in has to go through the door and then back out. So we have not decided on kind of which direction we want to go, but either way, compared to the high school, which you're actually putting an addition on the high school, this one is simply either adding a doorway and reconfiguring the office, or adding a bank of doors back here and removing a front thing of doors. And you really wouldn't have to remove the front thing of doors here. You could leave that too. So either way, it's significant cost savings that we're going to be able to roll back over in the high school, because there's going to be a little more in depth. They've done a lot of work. I wanted to show this. They've done a lot of work with mapping out. We have all that drainage issue at the middle school, and so they're actually starting this week. Yet they're gonna put a robot down in the storm sewers, and they're gonna map all of our storm sewers and all of our sewer system. And so what that will do is, they believe, will show that somewhere right around here, they believe that a sewer. This is in our new operations parking lot. So they believe that a storm drain system was tied into the sewer system somewhere between here and here, one of these, somewhere in this area right here. And that is actually what is feeding all of the issues into our middle school. That is what is believed right now. So originally, we thought it all came from the parking lot area over here, and then now they're finding out it's probably in this area right here somewhere. Apparently, because there used to be a school here, that was, what was that,
Central.
Central Elementary, when they eliminated that, they were supposed to cap a lot of those lines, but then when they went down to add in the operations building and the parking lot, they found some were capped, some were not capped, some were, so it's just kind of a labyrinth down there. So we are gonna spend a little bit of money, to have the whole thing mapped so we know exactly where everything goes. So this is all the fun things about doing concrete projects and that's one of the reasons why today you will not see a quote for a design fee for the middle school, because we want to have this mapped out first so we know exactly what the issues are before we start putting in design into a middle school parking lot. Eventually, this will be what will be replaced, this main middle school parking lot right here, and then as well as this over here. Again, we're waiting for the city to kind of tell us if they're going to expand, are we still going to be able to have, because they're essentially going to have to take some land from our side and some land from the other side, are we still going to be able to have a row of parking here, or is that something that's going to have to be eliminated? So I don't want to pour it in and then wait a couple years, because I do know that Harry Langdon's on their 2029 calendar, so I don't want to pour something in there and be like, oh, you got to take it all back out. So trying to see if they can expedite that planning a little bit.
When they first worked on that road too, they wanted to take all of it on Lewis Central side,
Right.
and fought that, so they took it on both sides.
Yeah.
And so we just need to make sure that that's what they
Yeah.
do.
The only issue they're going to run into is going to be down by the parking, or down by the gas station here. There's nothing to take over there. So to go to a true expansion down there, they'll have no choice but to take from our side, just because there's not anything on the other side to take. So, but again, those are all future plans, so. So that's kind of it. That'll be the presentation we give to the Facilities Committee tomorrow. It's not necessarily a discussion piece. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update on the thoughts and the process it's going to go through. The Facilities Committee tomorrow I'm sure we'll have lots of comments and lots of suggestions, and Bubba's smiling over there because he's already got his list in his head. So, so they'll kind of give all of what they see coming, and then again on the 3rd is when we'll kind of do more of a general overview. We're also going to have tomorrow night, the Facilities Committee is going to get a demonstration of the new optimized system controls, HVAC controls that we have. So they're going to be able to see how that works and how that will help save us money. And then you guys will get a presentation on February 3rd. So they're going to come and give the same presentation. Oh, let me go back to here. All right. Sorry, kind of all over the place there, but mostly facilities related. I know Project Advocates couldn't make it tonight, so I told them I'd do their update for them. If you have any deep-seated questions, I can try to answer them. Otherwise, I can wait for those guys.
Well, I'd like to know how for sure they are of sending a robot down, of finding where the issue is, because by this, it still has the high school parking lot being replaced prior to the middle school, and yet we don't know that we have controlled our flooding issue.
Right.
And I know the parking lot of the high school is done for different wiring aspects and stuff. But I think a flooding school would be more of a priority.
And that's what they're trying to figure out. If they can eliminate the flooding of the school and that expense for us, and wait a year for the parking lot, for the middle school parking lot, then that would be their recommendation. Again, they just make recommendations, so.
And then if you go to the diagram of the front of the high school. So you said anybody after a certain point has to go through a secured entrance.
This one?
Statistically, are the problems coming in after that window? Or are students coming in with the general public? And, you know, with
Right.
a weapon or whatever it is. So maybe your SRO office needs to be closer to the main doors.
Well, in the mornings every day, we have a lot of staff out there in the mornings. So we
He's-
have.
he's not
so-
sitting in the
No, so in the
office.
mornings, you'll see all 4 administrators will be out here, the SRO will be out here, and they'll have a handful of teachers. One of the things you will see is a weapons detection system. It's just like, all it is, it's one of those, it's like a little, I don't know, kiosk thing, like you just kind of walk through. It's like you're leaving a store. You got the little gray things on the side of you. And when you walk through, it'll have a red light or a green light. And if, as long as it's green, and the kids will just walk through like normal. It's not a metal detector. It's a very sophisticated device that detects weapons-shaped, high-density metals. And then as you come through, it identifies it. If you go red, it'll pull up on an iPad. It'll show a picture of Director Sturm, and it'll show a picture of his backpack with the circle around it. And I will be able to say, hey, Bubba, Papa over here, I gotta, we're gonna have to look at your backpack real quick.
I do like that system.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, I have looked it up. Also understand that company is also in litigation court because a knife did get by it and was used in a school.
Right.
So it's not 100%,
It's-
which I don't think anything is other than
Right.
bolting the doors shut, and that's not possible.
Right.
We're searching every backpack.
Mhm.
But one thing that has never been said is how much this system costs. For one, purchasing the equipment, which, I'll be honest, I have found the numbers.
Mhm.
And purchasing the equipment is doable.
Mhm.
The monthly cost is astronomical
Yeah.
for
It
a
dep-
single door.
Yeah, well, it depends on the company you're looking at. There's 4 different companies that offer a similar product.
Well, and I can't honestly tell you which one I found. The one I found, it was $100,000 per door, so that covered one double door, and then it was $4,000 per month for the one door.
That's a little higher than the numbers that I'm receiving. Yeah, it's not a cheap system for sure. It's one of those things that when you look at it's based on a per unit system. So it is, you have a monthly fee that you have to pay. It just comes down to, is it something that is worthwhile or not? Because the other option would be to look at a metal detector system, but then I feel like the only way to do a metal detector system appropriately is to have many staff members that are running, like they do at the courthouse. And
Right.
you would never get the number of students through that would be considered appropriate. Like I said, I have yet to get finalized numbers, and what you find online is a little bit different than
Oh,
what they send us
absolutely,
directly.
absolutely.
So, yeah, so I don't know, I'm still finding numbers, that's why I haven't brought it up, but that would be, the hope is that we would have a 2-unit system that we can get kids through in a reasonable time. But yeah, either way, whether we have that system or we determine that the cost, it's too much of a cost to be able to do, every morning we have probably 8 staff members out welcoming kids. So we have 8 pair of eyes, as they're walking through those doors. What we don't have right now is a way we don't have somebody stationed out there all day long. They're not just standing there at the door as people come in. So kids come and go out those doors all day long.
Free will.
So the issue right now is anybody can walk in with unencumbered and be able to walk in and walk out without anybody even intercepting them. And so right now, I would say it's all a risk, right? Like
But I thought you had to, at a certain time, those doors lock.
They do,
Right.
but you buzz into the school, or like our kids have badges. So like they can come in and they can badge
And
into
then
the
they
rest of
can
the
go
school.
anywhere.
So you could have one of the kids' badges get taken. You could have a situation where I'm walking in with you and I know you, but kind of, I know who you are. I know you go to school. I believe you go to the school, and you just walk in with me. We could have a situation where you don't even go here, but because we have 1,000 kids in school, not everybody knows everybody. And you just walk, I mean, our kids are trusting kids. You just walk in with them. They're not supposed to. Or you show up to a camera and you say, hey, I'm here to visit so-and-so, but we can only see you from the torso up. I can't see what you have below, you know? So you walk in, or either that or you have something concealed, you walk in and you take off down the hallway. Well, now our ladies have to try to get up and go find you, you know? So this would create a situation where every single person after that mass entry and that mass exit has to go through the office. And this is becoming the absolute standard in any new
Absolutely.
school that you'll see built. So we are the exception. There are some other ways to do it. For instance, at AL, they have these giant gates that drop down from the ceiling and separate you. But that, to me, if you ask the kids, they say that feels kind of a little bit like a jail. So the whole goal is to still have a welcoming, formal atmosphere where people can come in and feel safe, but at the same time, it's a school, right? We don't want people to feel like they're being locked down. So that's one of the reasons. And is it functional? Absolutely. I just don't know that that's what's best for a school environment. It's kind of like metal detectors. Somebody asked me, why don't you do metal detectors? One, the expense of it. You get about six, 7 people to run it. But then outside of that, what is your first instinct when you walk into a school and there's a metal detector there? The first thought is, what the heck goes on here? This is a scary place, you know? And that's not what we want any kid to enter in the school feeling like, or any visitor, like, what's wrong with this place that you have to have a metal detector? You know, same thing with SROs a little bit. I think you walk into a school and you see an armed police officer standing at the door and you think, what the heck's going on here? Reality, they're there just to keep everybody safe, and you'll have some people be like, oh my gosh, I feel better that you're here. Other people, that kind of gives an instant thought of like, what happens here that we have to have this, you know? So it's all about finding that balance between how do we keep people safe, but in a way that doesn't feel like feels like we're still a school.
Right.
This might be way too early to answer, but I know a lot of kids use the back door on the west side of the school. Will they have to be directed
To the
around?
front. Everybody will have to go to the
Everybody
front.
comes in through the front.
Yep.
So, and just,
That'll be a big learning curve. So.
and maybe for some teachers too, because
will.
there are still weights that are sitting there propping doors open. So,
Yep.
just throwing that out there.
Yeah, now it kind of depends, you know, if it's now we're talking about school entry. So if you're coming in through the school entry, that'll have to be it. If you're coming in kind of an after hours for a practice or something else,
would
it's
be it.
essentially the coach's responsibility to monitor their entrances and make sure that people are coming in and out, et cetera. So they will use other entrances for after school activities, but
Yeah,
when the-
which is fine. I
yeah.
just was mourning.
Yeah. But we'll have to retrain people that, like, you know, hey, here's the deal. Like, you can monitor that door and let people in at 6 a.m. to come lift weights, but by 6:45, that door is shut and everybody goes to the front, you know? So it's just retraining people.
Yeah. Okay.
It's nothing that they shouldn't be doing this whole time, but
Okay.
convenience sometimes trumps safety, so, at least in their minds.
Understood.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Again, these are preliminary thoughts. Just want you guys to be a part of the conversation. But we still have to continue to move forward. Anything else?
The vestibules, were those going to be completed before next fall?
The Creft one, probably yes. The high school, no. The high school probably won't break ground until late fall.
Okay.
So, or not late fall, early fall. The hope is that they can get the outside portion enclosed by winter, and we probably won't finish it until spring, until the the next summer, because it involves removing a portion of the wall in the high school office, and we don't have any place to, unfortunately, we don't have a place to relocate our office, so they'll have to live with the outside work being done, and then once we hit summer, we'll finish it all, so, portions.
Any other questions? Okay. Moving on to discussion items. The 900 series policy review or second reading.
This is just the second reading of the same policy series. Let me pull it up real quick. Yes, I'll had access to this. This little box, it's in my way. I'll zoom in. So this is just, these are the updates. The major things that you guys need to remember, just a reminder, these are all based on Iowa Association of School Boards updates, so their attorneys write the updates. We subscribe to that policy service, so then we don't have to pay an attorney every time we want to redo a policy. So they make sure they're all up to code and following the latest legislation. There's a couple new policies on basically news releases and live broadcasts. There's 9031 is just allowing Booster Club, LCEF, PTA to have not get the board's approval for gift above $500. They don't anyway. Like the Booster Club doesn't come to you and say, "Hey, I got a $1,000 donation." So just kind of cleaning up that language. A couple things just changed to match IASB. Extracurricular contest transportation request form. So the way the policy is written, we require any time a kid loads a vehicle to go on a trip for anything for extracurricular activities, they're supposed to sign a waiver. That's just not something we're practicing, nor is it something that's recommended by IASB. So I'm going to recommend we just eliminate that portion of it, because if it's not practical and it's not something we're currently doing, there's no reason to have it. There's new advertising promotion policy that we put in there. Application use and liability, all these were just updated, so they're kind of outdated, eliminated. For instance, we eliminated the VCR and TV. Nobody needs to pay to rent those. Not that we even have a VCR, maybe somewhere. I did put projector and sound is in there. So we don't have a facility use liability insurance agreement. So this is one they put in there. It's actually required by law, but I couldn't find one anywhere in our policies. And then we had rules and regulation. I'm going to request that we give a 90-day, that people have to give us a 90-day notice anytime they're using the Performing Arts Center to be able to get their deposit back. And the reason is we have people now that we're booking out 6, 12, 18 months in advance. And so it's not really fair when we get multiple requests for the same weekend. Like for instance, every dance school out there wants the first weekend in June, like every dance studio out there. Well, if we booked it with, Alex Dance Studio, and you've had it this whole time, and then you tell us a week beforehand, nah, I'm not gonna do it. Right now we have nothing. We don't collect a deposit. We're just, and it's not necessarily the fact that we don't get paid for it. It's more along the lines that, like, I had both Amy and Andrea's dance studios reaching out running the same weekend, and now it's too late for me to go back and be like, hey, rather than have, your local Council Bluffs dance studio, rather than you having to go to Bellevue for your dance competition, now you can have it at the school. We'd like to keep people local if we can. Fee schedule, so I just moved the Performing Arts Center. The fee schedule was on ours and it was a little cumbersome, so we just kind of moved it to its whole own document. It's just created its own document, which is the next one, and we just copied Iowa Western's fee schedule and rules and regulation. We're operating at a significant loss compared to them. They're still low in comparison to like what some of the other larger schools in the area are charging, or Des Moines. So we just said, it's probably fair if we just match Iowa Western. So we're not competing against then, we're not, it's just, it's even Steven. So between the two of our performing arts centers, hopefully our community can get in one or the other. And then the last one is we put in I put in an update to the unmanned aircraft aerial system, supposed to be like the drones. There was no provision for school-based use. So we currently operate a drone for our football practices. Well, according to our policy, we shouldn't be even operating a drone for football practices or for any kind of, really any school-based activity. So I just put in there that it is allowed for school-based activity with permission from the principal, so. But as soon as you guys approve this, I'm gonna send this off to the high school, to Mr. Dermody, and to Ryan Adkins, who's our Performing Arts Center Director, and they will start using the new rental agreements and prices for the Performing Arts Center. For those who have booked with us up until July 1st, we're gonna keep our commitment to them because we've already said, yeah, you can have it for this price. I'm not one to go back and be like, no, just kidding, we upped it now. So we're gonna leave it through June 30th, but then starting July 1st, all of the new prices, if you've already booked with us. If you haven't booked with us, the new prices start tomorrow. So, and if you're online, we're not open tonight, so you can't call. It's starting for you right now, as soon as they vote, so.
Is 90 days enough? Or should it be 180 days?
No, Ryan thinks 90 days is enough. I asked him, I said, what do you think is appropriate? And really, we're gonna request a 50% deposit, and so it's just for you to get 100% of your deposit back. And if you read it, it's actually a breakdown. It's like, if you notify us within 90 days, you get 100% of your deposit back. If you notify us within 30 days, you get 10%, we keep 10% of your deposit, so.
But at 90 days, I don't think you have a chance of re-renting it back out
Yeah,
for another dance studio.
yeah, and I
I
don't,
mean,
that's, what
those
we.
are set up almost a year in advance.
Yeah, I would say as long as we're able to keep some of the deposit, the biggest thing is just incentivizing people not to back out. I mean, with the new rental schedule, if you booked us for a weekend, like a dance studio booked us for a weekend, that could be an $8,000 to $10,000 price tag. So if you're giving us a $5,000 deposit and you back out, we still get $5,000.
Right, which helps us
Yeah.
with the upkeep and the maintenance on that facility.
Yeah,
But if you call us in 90 days, or within 90 days, you get all of your money back,
yeah,
and we're still out.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, that was what we found and what Ryan's recommendation was, but if you guys wanna up that, I mean, that's your guys' prerogative, absolutely, so.
I mean, I guess I would like to see, I don't know, I guess 180 days. That way, if, should one dance studio or whatnot come into an issue that they don't want it, it still does give the next studio or the next person a chance to send out invitations or,
Yeah, that makes sense.
How many
update
things-
their.
How many events are booked more than half a year
Uh,
out versus within a half a year timeframe?
I don't really know. I know that, like last year, he already had 4 weekends booked, like last year at this time for this year.
Okay.
So, I mean, they were booked out pretty significantly, pretty far in advance. I mean,
I think a lot of them are
Yeah.
a year.
at least a year, yeah. So I know we had people in the summer calling and requesting certain dates for like this May and June that we already had assigned and booked up. So, and Director Sturm's right. Like I mean, I already know at this point, and we're 5.5 months out from my daughter's recitals, and I already know what the date is and what the location is and everything. So, so yeah, Iowa Western holds a 90-day refund as well. That's kind of what we kind of stayed with it.
Well,
so.
and it won't affect anybody that stays with it.
Correct.
The
Yeah.
only ones that it's gonna affect are ones that run into unforeseen circumstances or ones that are just throwing their name in the hat
Right.
and, type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not against it. You can even do something where it's, you know, if you cancel within 180 days, you get all your money back. If you cancel within 90 days, you get 25% of your money back. I mean, we can even have a tiered system like that, so.
The only thing I heard you just say was we've copied everything from iWestern, and iWestern also does 90
They do,
days. So
yep.
that creates a little bit of a competitive.
Correct, yeah.
Difference. Okay.
And I have seen a dance studio move their recital 2 weeks before because of a venue change. So,
Oh, really?
I mean, if they found out that something happened, and they would, in a heartbeat, within 3 months, pick it up. So I'm not trying to be argumentative, but 90 days does, if Ryan knew that, hey, June 15th, this dance competition canceled, but this competition wanted in, there's a good chance that they would still try to go ahead and change and book that date with us.
So I guess, are you interested in changing it, or do we leave it at 90 days?
I'm torn because I'd like to see it be the 180, but at the same time, keeping in line with Iowa Western, I think it's fair if we've stayed on point with them everywhere else, that, like you said, it creates just even a smidge of competition.
I mean, the way I think of it is, if Iowa Western's been doing this for a while now, I think they would probably adjust that 90-day threshold if they were losing money or if they were getting screwed over time and time again. So the fact they've had that auditorium and still maintain the 90-day, I don't think it's come back to bite them for that decision. But I mean, I understand your point with the 180.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what we'll do is when you guys make a motion on it, then you can say, somebody can make a recommendation to just do it as presented, which would be the 90 days, or you can make a motion to adopt the changes to the 900 series, but with a 180-day cancellation policy. So whatever motion is, at least there's one or the other, so. Anything else in that
Well,
one?
and if we do see there's an issue, if we've had that, we can always bring this back next year. I mean, if there's, try it for a year, matching our Western, if there's anything that we see we need to change, it doesn't, just because we're approving it now doesn't mean we can't pull that policy
Yep.
in 6 months, in a year,
Mhm.
and make changes.
Any other comments? Okay. We'll move forward to modified supplemental amount for at-risk dropout prevention.
So this is something we have to do every year. So we have a couple of let me pull up that agenda here. So we get a couple of funding streams, dropout prevention and at-risk dollars that come to us from the state. And then it is a request we have to make because it is a property tax. We've had it for forever, but we have to do it on an annualized basis. Just a second. So this year the amount is, oops. Let's see.
The amount for this year is $696,182 for the modified supplemental amount, and it carries a local match from the general fund of $232,061. And we use those funds for the Alternative Center programming, the CTG program at the high school, targeted reading and math programs at the middle school, counselors at all of the buildings, school-based interventionists, social workers, and mental health services across the district.
This doesn't affect our tax rate because we already have this pre-put in when you guys approve the tax rate, so.
Any additional comments? Okay, hearing none, moving on to parking lot and pavement design agreement.
Yep, so we have Lamford Nearson. They have provided to us, let me pull it up here. This is the, they need to do, we have to pay them to do a design. So there's 3 different design fees. The first one is for professional services agreement. This is for them to do the, just the tennis court in general. So to move it over to that area, there's some work that needs to be done with the city as far as land. They gotta come up with like a land contract because they actually own half the land that runs through, like our practice football field and soccer fields. They are not interested in giving that or letting us purchase that land because they want it as a set aside in case we ever decide to eliminate the trail, which I don't know why we would ever do, but the Parks Department doesn't want to do it. So instead, they just want to have a rental agreement with a lease agreement with us where basically we pay them $1 for, I don't know, 100 years or whatever it is. So that's how we, essentially be able to build on it. There is some groundwork because that is all considered flood ground as everything is down in that area. So it just takes a little bit of design for the tennis courts to be able to move those over there. So the design fee for the tennis court is $30,000. And then there's a floodplain development permit because we're down and that's $2,000. So that's what this is too. Eventually they'll have to come in and do some, they've already done the soil borings and stuff. That was all part of the last, when you guys approved their kind of surveying work, that was all included in that. So they've already gotten all that done. This is simply designing that, what that looks like. And then this one here is,
I didn't get that.
Oop.
Can you try again?
sorry Siri. This one is for the, what is this? This one's for the Titan Hill parking lot and lane. This is $35,000 for them to design. And really all they're doing for the parking lot is they're going through and kind of that middle parking lot there where it's like asphalt that's over the geotechnical wells or geothermal wells. We need to replace that, but we got to be careful because we don't want to disturb the wells that are underneath it. So there's a little bit of design fee that goes into that, especially with the road. And then the last one is the high school parking lot. This will include all the curbing. This will include all of the pavement that goes all around, kind of the redesign of the front entry and everything else. So design fee on that is $60,000. So for a total cost of, and actually it's a little more because I forgot about the $2,000 there. So a total cost of $127,000. This is just for the design fee, and this is one of those lovely things that because the project is above $158,000, we have to have an engineer and architect design it and stamp it and give estimated costs. So.
Any questions or comments?
And then I will come back in the next month or two with the high school entry. The high school entry actually might not be, if the city's not going to tell us where they want that portion might not be approved. That might be a 2026 project, make the parking lot done and then do the lane in 2026. It just really depends on what the city gets us for where they want that to come out at. And then the middle school parking lot, then we'll go, and we might have to break that into phases too, because if the city doesn't tell us what they want along Harry Langdon, we might have to do the big parking lot separate from the kind of the side that runs along there. So, but hopefully we'll have some more answers. They just weren't prepared to give us those 2 bids yet. But if we approve these, and again, this isn't committing to the projects, this is committing to the design process, so then we know exactly what it's going to take to get those done.
So the total is 127,000.
27,000, yep. I forgot about the 2,000.
Did the soil samples come back all right?
We haven't heard yet, so that's an unknown to me. They were supposed to be able to give me feedback today, but they weren't able to, so. But luckily, the design fee doesn't change, because that's one of the questions I asked was, so if the soil comes back really bad, do the design fees change? And they said, no, design fees will stay the same, so we're good either way.
Any other comments? Okay, moving forward to reimbursement resolution, bond debt.
Let me pull this back up here. Okay, so there is a reimbursement resolution that I had emailed you guys, and this is essentially the crux of it. So we have paid out of our save dollars, 2.5 million to go to the land. That's supposed to come out of bond money, but because we had to close in December and the bonds aren't going to be paid out until June, we had to kind of prepay. So you have to pass a resolution that allows us to refund that money back into our save account when we get it from the bond money in June. So, and this is really all that needs to be read down here. So is this one statement right here, and then you guys had received in your email, I forwarded off those resolutions to you in the email. Any work that's done, like for instance, all of the pre-planning work, like all the design fees and everything, like for LAMP and everybody else that comes through and does this, BCDM with the entry, with the new secure entrances, that can all come out of the bond. We can automatically reimburse ourselves for that. We don't have to ask for permission every time. So we'll pay for that other money we have, and then once we get a bond, we'll reimburse those accounts with the bond money.
So we don't have to put a dollar amount with this. This is
Nope.
just a,
You just
Right.
read it just like that.
okay.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, moving on to dissemination letter and agent agreement with Piper Sandler.
Okay. So Piper Sandler is our, Matt Gillespie is kind of our finance agent. He's the one that does all the bond sales. Piper Sandler probably does 80% of the bond sales across the state of Iowa. Essentially what you're looking at is to approve, this is just a letter that allows us to have them as our agent. So that's all it is. And he had mentioned that if you can, like, basically because we're issuing an amount more than $10 million, that you have to have these mandatory filings done, and so you have to have an agent be able to do it. So that's why this particular agreement is important. So, because we are bonding over $10 million.
And they currently do our other ones that were over the $10 million as well. So they've been our agent for multiple years.
So many rules and regulations. So, just increase the cost more.
Any other questions? Okay, then continuing on to financial services agreement with Piper Sandler.
Again, this is just the agreement to let them do our financial services. So the first one is allowing them to be kind of our dissemination agent and to do all our reports for us. The second one is to allow them to be our financial services agent, which allows them to go out and create the bond paperwork, advertise the bond with a variety of banks, and then try to collect us the best rate possible.
Any comments, questions?
And they have been our bond agent forever.
Wow. Okay, disclosure council engagement agreement with Ehlers and Cooney.
So anytime that you do bonds, not only do you have to have an agent to be able to do all the bond and paperwork and follow-up for you, but you also have to have an attorney that represents you in the bond process. So the agent is not enough to go out and get all the bonds and everything else. You have to pass it through an attorney to make sure that it's all legal. So you'd think they'd be one and the same, but they're different. I'm sure there's a reason behind it. I'm sure that some attorney somewhere talked the legislation into doing this, so maybe, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, then for our next two items, we have an open enrollment request and a personnel matter regarding employee resignation. For that, it's recommended that we move to closed session per Iowa Code 21.5. 1A, closed session is appropriate to review or discuss records which are required or authorized by state or federal law to be kept confidential, or to be kept confidential as a condition for that government body's possession or continued receipt of federal funds. Can I get a motion to move to closed session, please?
So moved.
Second.
Can I get a vote, please?
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Miss Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. Mic's on. Good? Okay. And we are back. So here we will move to the second time in our meeting where we open the floor to comments and suggestions for any feedback to the board. Do we have anyone? No? Okay. Then we'll move on to action items. So for 901, the 900 series policy review, second reading. Do we have a motion?
Mr. President, would like to make a motion to approve the second reading and updates as presented.
Second.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.02, the modified supplemental amount for at-risk dropout prevention. Do we have a motion?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the at-risk dropout prevention modified supplement amount for 2025-2026 of $696,000, or $696,182.
Second.
Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.03, parking lot and pavement design agreement. Do we have a motion? Sorry.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve design bid by I can't even say that, Renierson for the parking lot and pavement replacement projects in the amount of $127,000.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.04, reimbursement resolution for bond debt.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution declaring an official intent under Treasury Regulation 1.150-2 to issue debt to reimburse the Lewis Central Community School District for certain original expenditures paid in connection with specific projects.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.05, the dissemination letter and agent agreement with Piper Sandler.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the dissemination letter and agent agreement with Piper Sandler as presented.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.06, financial services agreement with Piper Sandler.
Mr.
Mr.
President,
Pres- Go ahead.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the financial services agreement with Piper Sandler as presented.
Second?
Vote, please.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.07, disclosure council engagement agreement with Ehlers and Cooney.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the disclosure council engagement agreement with Allers and Cooney as presented.
Second?
Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.08, open enrollment request. Are we separating this A and B?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion for student A?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion for student A to deny the open enrollment application.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. Open enrollment request for student B. Do we have a motion?
Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion to deny the open enrollment request for student B as presented in closed session.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Abstain. 9.09, personal matter regarding employee resignation.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept a mid-year resignation request.
Second?
Okay.
Okay.
And
Vote,
I think,
please.
I think you do have to say the name.
Can we?
Oh, I-
Can I have, yes.
Oh, I do have to say
Please.
the name? I'm
Yes.
sorry, Christine Denton. Resignation of Christine Denton.
Second?
Okay, vote, please.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. Items of interest, future board meetings. Our next regular board meeting is scheduled on February 3rd, 2025.
Yep, so just, I would buckle up because the next few board meetings are going to be fairly lengthy, so. Yeah, I'll bring some snacks.
I was gonna
So,
say, do we
yeah,
have any extra
yeah.
ones we could?
Yeah, I will bring some snacks next time, so, but.
Okay, then we're at adjournment. Adjournment, do I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Can I put it?